All right, we're live. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mad Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Welcome to Mad Mondays. We are here with Mort from Buffalo and your man Sim.
Hey, salam alaikum. What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Well, let's give a few minutes for people to hop on. We're a little late, but not absent.
Mm, yeah, I know. I'm just trying to see why the Mad Mamluks thing is. I'm trying to load the chat thing, but it's not showing a video. So there's a playback error. Playback ID.
Playback error.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
Let me check from my phone and see if that's an issue from the phone. Oh,
Nonsense.
I see it. Let me check from my phone and see if that's
Yeah,
an
see,
issue.
Mort, you always get me
Oh.
worried, dude.
I don't know. Well, it
We're
didn't
good.
load from the computer, so I don't know what happened.
All right.
But I guess yeah, I won't be able to monitor the chats then, I guess. I'll
Don't
leave
worry.
that for you to do.
I got it up.
Okay, good. Very good. I am just gonna share this to social media. Let's see if this is gonna work. Okay. All right. Good to go.
Great. All right.
All right, cool.
I don't know about this whole Mad Mondays thing up on top. I don't know. It looks kind of weird.
Does
Should
it look
we?
weird?
Does it? I don't know. Um,
I don't know. I
if,
mean, we'll let the people decide.
if y'all don't like it, let me know. We'll remove it for you. We're a podcast for the people. We're not democratic though, but we
Yeah.
we
I
hear
mean,
you
I mean,
out.
yeah, we're more inclined to be like a kind of a dictatorship, but we just want to get your feedback.
All right. Well, more. There's a lot that has happened over this past week. More Jamal Khashoggi news. The plot thickens, as they say, right? Um, but before we get to that, let's just talk about our sponsors real quick. halfrdean.com. Make sure you go there and check it out and refer a friend to set up their marriage profile if they're so inclined to get married. If they're not married, you don't want to get involved in that kind of nonsense, but definitely refer them to halfrdean.com, set up by none other than Baba Ali. Second sponsor is mywasia.com. Get your Islamic will made via mywasia.com. Set up in 15 minutes. You never know when you're going to go. So make sure you get your Islamic will set up in a Sharia compliant manner. You don't want the court systems to carve up your estate as so go to what's it called, mywasia.com, and get your Islamic will made. Thirdly, Wahed invest your financial income and all your wealth that you have dedicated to invest it in a halal manner. Go to wahidinvest.com. It's been approved by major scholars like Yasser Qadi, and get meet up with one of their counselors, meet one of their professionals over there, and they can uh, help you invest your money. How's that for?
Perfect.
All right.
So speaking of life being short, unfortunately, um, the life of Jamal Khashoggi was cut short. Uh, been a big topic in the news
Been cut
lately.
short with a bone saw.
Well, allegedly.
Oh,
I
come
mean,
on. There's no allegedly behind this. This is
no, no, no,
pretty
no,
much.
no, no. Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What we do know, I'm not trying to defend anybody. What I'm saying though is allegedly, the Turkish government says that when he walked in,
Yeah.
within 7 minutes, they had cut him up, killed him,
Mm.
cut him up, and then took him out in trash bags, essentially. Um, that's what they alleged happened. The Saudi government came out after mounting pressure and said, finally admitted that he actually died, first of all, they were kind of denying and well, I don't know about denying, but they were very
They're like, oh,
silent.
what happened? Who knows? He walked away, as
Yeah.
far as we know.
Hmm.
So we find
And
out. We found out later that there's a body double that was involved. Either did you hear about that?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so then I guess because of the mounting pressure, they had to admit that yes, he is actually dead. Now
Mm.
the question comes about what happened to his body. You know what I mean? The guy walks in, and here's the thing. Um, the Saudi consulate turned off all closed circuit television, cameras. They closed it off. Luckily, the Turkish government has a CCTV camera right outside the consulate, and that was the camera that recorded Khashoggi going inside.
Oh,
But
and they
beyond that,
also removed all the regular employees that were working that day at the consulate. They were all sent home. They
they were
said,
sent on
"Hey,
a vacation.
take a day off.
Yeah.
You earned it." That's what they
Imagine.
told them.
And what employee would be like, no, I'm going to stay here and work, right? Nobody would
No,
do that, right? Yeah.
no. It's the
So
Middle East. You take what you get.
yeah, I mean, you never know when you're going to get it again, you know? And apparently here's the other interesting twist. Apparently um his fiance was told to wait in the car, and what the Turkish government is saying, according to some sources, that he was wearing an iWatch, an Apple Watch, and it was streaming content. I don't know if it's audio or video,
Right.
but apparently from that, I think she allegedly turned it over to the Turkish intelligence or government agency,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. And based on what she turned over, apparently they severed his arms while he was alive, and then they killed him, according to some reports. I don't know how true that is. And apparently, one of the Saudi officers, like somebody in position, actually told them to put the music up.
Yeah, yeah. They
Or,
turn the music up and put headphones on. Cover your ears. This can.
and apparently, this was directed toward the guests that were actually in the consulate at that time. They should have put the headphones on and turned the
No, no. I don't
volume
think it
up.
was a guess. It was
I
towards
don't
the.
know.
No,
Apparently,
no. It was a team of people who came. Right. It was like 12 to 17. I can't remember the
15
exact.
people.
Yeah, yeah. So there was a team of Saudi professional hitmen or whatever, commandos,
Yes,
whatever.
commandos. Yeah,
Yeah, they came over and they said, "Hey, everyone, take the day off. We got it. Don't worry about it. There's
yeah.
nothing to worry about over here. You guys earned a day off." And they said, "All right, well, we're taking." It. And then what did little did they know? Right underneath their nose was a big butchering happening with uh, the
Yeah,
slaughter of Jamal Khashoggi, where he was pretty much laying on the table and they're sawing off his hands, and it seems like his Apple Watch is recording the whole ordeal, and um, I think it was he may have called his fiance or something in the process,
no, he
and
told his fiance that if I don't return in a certain amount of time, you go to the authorities. And apparently, he was streaming his Apple Watch was streaming everything to the phone, and she apparently allegedly was watching this in real time.
so he's suspecting something, right? Because no one just
Oh yeah.
gives that kind of a dreary warning like that.
So background here. First of all, he's been trying to get a divorce from his Saudi wife because for whatever reasons he can't return back to Saudi Arabia, whatever it may be, and he has a Turkish fiance. So he
Mm,
tried to go, apparently he tried to go to the embassies in Washington, D.C. and New York, but the Saudis were like, "Oh no, we're having some issues. Why don't you just go to the Turkish, the embassy in Turkey? It'll be much easier. We'll get it done faster. You'll get your paperwork to get your divorce, and you'll be on your way." So apparently Jamal Khashoggi had some doubts about, what was going to happen in Turkey, wasn't entirely trusting of them. But maybe he thought, it's Turkey, it's not on Saudi soil. They wouldn't be bold enough to try to do something on Turkish, kind of European soil. Um, and the consulate is technically a neutral ground, right? But I think apparently because of his doubts, he tells his fiance that if I don't come back to the car, make sure you report this. And apparently he was streaming everything from his Apple Watch onto the phone. And apparently his poor fiance was witnessing, or at least by video or audio, what was taking place in the embassy at that time. And apparently that's how we know that it happened within 7 minutes.
yeah.
Plus that corroborating with the Turkish closed circuit television cameras.
Now, you hear, I think was it yesterday or today, MBS Mohammed bin Sultan, as he's likes to be called by that acronym. He's saying that I don't get why all these people are upset. Like, who cares about Khashoggi? He doesn't realize there's a lot of division within America about their relationship with Saudi Arabia. It all started with the whole 9/11 thing that, even Republicans were against. Like, hey, why do we have this strong relationship with this country again? Why are we so dependent on them? Well, it's not just that, we're well, our it's not just that we're dependent, it's that we're dependent by hundreds of billions of dollars. There's a lot of money at stake. It's not like something that can be recouped from a few from alliances with a few different countries. They're getting hundreds of billions of dollars from Saudi Arabia. I think estimates are just recent contracts alone are around $200 billion. That's not something you can just go say, "Hey, Egypt, why don't we make a deal?" Egypt doesn't have that kind of money. Other players in the region do not have that kind of money that Saudi Arabia has, and that's why they're willing to, you know, uh, they're willing to overlook a lot of this stuff. I mean, they generally are willing to overlook everything. If this wasn't recorded, there's no way any of this stuff would have made any news headlines. There's definitely very hard evidence that has made this become national headlines. And for us, many in the Muslim community, we know about these atrocities that Saudi Arabia has been committing for decades now. More recently, we even before Khashoggi, we know many of the imams of the Haram have been arrested. People like Bandar Balila and I can't remember some of the other names. You're more familiar with some of the names. Do you remember some of
Yeah,
the names who were arrested?
yeah. There's some. I mean, not only Imam Haram, but people like famous people like Saleh Munajjid.
Yeah,
Um, I mean,
uh,
apparently, now Salman Al-Auda, who's on
of
death
course.
row.
Yes, someone
People
older.
like that. Um, but more importantly, I think why this is an issue is obviously him being a Saudi, he's a critic of Saudi. And one thing in the West that they pride themselves on is freedom of speech.
Yeah,
And the fact that this man was a United States resident and he did work for the Washington Post, which is one of the most reputable United States, media organizations, right? People across the globe, look and oftentimes turn to the Washington Post to get information. And the fact that a Washington Post employee um, could be just murdered
right.
simply for stating his opinion about or his critique about the Saudi government,
And his
not even to the
critique was
point.
pretty mild.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
the most crazy thing about this. He was a very change from within, a very
Yes. So
he wasn't revolutionary is what people need to understand. He was somebody
so he
who's
didn't really call. yeah, he didn't really call for the overthrowing of the government. He belonged to, and keep in mind, the Saudis felt really betrayed because he was on the inside. His
Right.
family was very well known. Adnan Khashoggi's uncle was one of the ones that was a huge arms dealer in the 1970s and 80s that facilitated a lot of the arms deals from America to Saudi Arabia. The Saudis are the largest arms buyers of the American, military industry. Keep in mind. So Adnan Khashoggi, his uncle, facilitated a lot of that to happen, and so the family has a lot of political ties within America, and also within the government or the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, meaning the royal family. So they considered him to be a semi-insider. Like he was very close to some of the princes and some of the royal family members, and for him to go and to write negative things about the kingdom, in a uh, in a Washington Post article or in an outlet like that, they felt very betrayed. Now, if you look at what he was saying, he didn't really write much of like extreme criticism, but he kind of echoed what some of the other princes and some of the older princes have stated before. And that was for a constitutional monarchy, which means that there is more power in the hands of people. And people, it wasn't, I mean, it's not a common theme, but other princes in the past have also mentioned this. For an example of that being the father of Al Walid bin Talal bin Abdul Aziz. He actually, in the 60s, actually advocated for this um, after Saud bin Abdul Aziz, the king who was disposed of, was squandering the wealth of Saudi Arabia on lavish things. He actually called for a constitutional monarchy, and he was actually banned and sent into exile to Egypt along with some other princes. So this is something that has been um, definitely brought up in the past. It wasn't something completely radical. He didn't really call for an overthrowing or an Arab Spring or anything like that. He was simply just critical of the Saudi culture and society and the way the government actually operates. But I think that the biggest problem, the reason why this is an issue, is because he is a Washington Post employee, right? I mean, but that kind of leads me to my next point. Let me ask you this question, Sim, and maybe the listeners out there who are watching. Do you guys think that this is ever going to cause, or this might cause a regime change in Saudi Arabia, or that Mohammed bin Salman is going to be forced to step down?
Well, I think it won't. It won't be. It would have to be under direction from the United States. That if he continues the way he's doing, but uh, they would force some other princes to take lead. And right now, I think even like Senator Marco Rubio made comments today saying that, you know, he made us look pretty bad. You know, we all stood up for him, and um, we threw our weight behind him, right? And he's making us look bad. So when that means that's code for like, hey, watch out. You keep it up, and we're gonna make sure that one of your brothers or cousins or however many people who are in succession, that many of them will be happy to fill that role that he has. And to be quite honest, I think many people in Saudi Arabia are suffering right now. I know we all have friends and relatives in Saudi Arabia, and we know that things on the street are not good. Businesses are not doing well. And when you have internal upheaval like that, you, I mean, you can play this game of suppressing, um, suppressing people down for only so long until people say, "Hey, I gotta feed my kids. Get this guy out of here." And
Yeah.
the kingdom has always had this. Uh, they always have a record of stability. They were one of the few places in the Middle East that had a pretty solid foothold on their people. And
Well, that was after 1979, after Johann al-Athebe,
right,
when they began to really crack down on any type of rebellion or extremism or any what they would call the Ikhwan al-Muslimin type of behavior. They really cracked down on on a lot of them. The problem here is this. Um, Trump first kind of threw his weight behind Mohammed bin Salman. Then he kind of, after the mounting pressure, kind of changed it a little bit, weakened his stance. So right now we're waiting to see what Trump will say. But what I think is going to happen is this. First of all, is Saudi Arabia the only country that kills journalists? Absolutely not. Right? This happens in Iran. It's happened in Pakistan. It's happened in Iraq. It's happened in Israel. It's happened in a lot of places. But this is definitely getting a lot of media attention. So what I think is going to happen, and I'm already seeing traces of it, is they're going to blame the a low level, one of those 15 agents that came in there and say, oh, well, they acted out of line during the interrogation. They overstepped their bounds and, they should be punished. And I think that the royal family is probably going to wash their hands clean and say, well, yes, we wanted to interrogate him because he's giving information to a foreign newspaper, but we didn't intend for him to be killed. We intended for him to be released and given his divorce. I mean, this is the rhetoric they're going to say. And I think that they're going to, wash their hands clean of it and blame some low level guy and have him take the fall. So he'll be the fall guy and then basically be like, oh, we didn't really know anything. But according to my sources, what's happening is that actually King Salman is actually has been kept in the dark because he's an older guy. He's about 81 years old or something. I think he's closer to probably 90. I mean, they lie about their age a lot. He's old and he's not really watching everything, and he depends on the people around him to feed him information. And I think for the most part, MBS has been telling his people to feed him the positive information. Oh, Saudi Arabia doing this, Saudi Arabia doing that. But apparently now, it's gotten so big that even the king has seen what's going on, and he has himself requested his own internal investigation about how his son is behaving. So that, I mean, and it's not uncommon. I mean, it's not unprecedented that a crown prince is replaced, right? It's happened twice already under the current king, right? His brother and then his nephew. It's happened already. So could Mohammed bin Salman be replaced? Yes, but I look at it in terms of I think the U.S. and Israel find him to be a very strong ally. There has been no other leader in that position in Saudi Arabia that has that much tolerance and cooperation with Israel and America, right? And so what I unfortunately, the way I see it is that what is at stake politically in terms of interest for these nations is far greater than the life of Jamal Khashoggi, the worth of his life, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And because of that, I doubt that they're going to force a regime change or even force him out of power.
Now you brought up an interesting point, and something I've been kind of thinking about since this whole saga kind of unfolded is how much are we really willing to sacrifice for Jamal Khashoggi and the tens of thousands of others that are like him who have gone largely unreported over the years, and how much do you think we would be willing to pay $1,000 more in gas or in gas related oil related hikes?
You're
I
asking
mean,
the wrong guy, bro. I'm a capitalist. I want to get things cheap as possible, bro.
so I know that, and I think most people are like that, though. I think most people in this country, and even in, I mean, across the world. Forget about the United States. I think most people are going to say like, "Hey, to hell with this Khashoggi guy. He was probably a terrorist anyway. Make the Saudis happy and give them what they want." And I mean, like, shut up about this whole Khashoggi business. I think when it starts pinching our wallets, people end up start changing, and they're like, "Oh, you know what? Well, did he really have to do that? Couldn't."
Well,
Well,
it's interesting you
people
note that.
just end up start making excuses for the
It's
oppressor.
interesting you note that because when Trump came out with support for MBS, some of the conservative talk show hosts started like in a sneaky way, started to um badmouth Khashoggi that go into his family history, what the guy did, how he was on the inside, and kind of betrayed the family. Like they were trying to paint this negative picture. And the funny thing is, maybe this is just me, but I really had no idea who this guy was.
I
I
don't
read
think.
one article about him where he wrote about how Syria should be divided. Right, that was what the one article I read by him, but that was all I knew about the guy.
Most
Right,
people have not heard about him. More, it's not. It's not the idea whether he was a prominent critic or not. It's the idea that he. This was all recorded,
no, of
and
course, of
and
course.
everyone, like, there's hard evidence. It's like pretty much irrefutable evidence that that will not let Saudi get out with a lie, because their story is changing every day. You
But
see
let me
every
pose a
day.
question to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't feel like the Americans are going to make that big of a deal, and I'll
I
tell
don't
you
think so.
why.
I think they're
For
just going to
two,
wait for the news cycle just to take over. Something else
yeah,
important will take over, and they'll forget about it.
and I'll tell you why, because there's two events in the past that kind of lead me to believe that there is no way the death of Jamal Khashoggi is worth more to American people than 3,000 people dying in 9/11. That is directly responsible from the Saudis.
Yeah.
Right? There's no way they're going to excuse that and then not excuse this, right? In the name of their interests. Number two, North Korea basically tortured that guy Otto, handed him back over as pretty much dead walking meat,
Yeah.
died, you know what I mean, in captivity. And Trump goes over there and negotiates to deal with him, right? And this is an American citizen, full-blooded, born Anglo-Saxon of origin, American citizen that was killed in the hands of a, North Korean government or regime. And Trump, and it wasn't that far. It happened during Trump's
Okay.
term.
Now, this is exactly what I've been always talking about when we're talking in regards to criticizing or critiquing capitalism, is the wholesale disregard for your values in favor of money. And that's why whenever you call yourself capitalist, I give you a heck about it more. But I know what you're meaning. You're talking about, you enjoy making money, and that's what I mean.
Well, no, 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 let me clarify that. First of all, there's a difference between capitalism and American capitalism, right? Because capitalism in its true sense is just a free market
That's
with,
not that's not just it. That's what I've been trying to tell you more. And when we've had some of these Twitter discussions, that there's much more to capitalism than just the free market economy. There's so much
in
more.
in American capitalism. Yes, but I'm saying if you look at by
Well, American capitalism is the world right now.
well, it is dominant, but you have Nordic capitalism. You've got capitalism in China. You've got capitalism now in India. Nordic capitalism is nothing like American capitalism. They tax themselves at almost a 70% rate if you look at the end of the day, and they have a huge social welfare network system. They don't compromise on the condition of human beings in order to achieve their goals. I mean, they're not involving bombing people, stealing people's resources. All they are is a free market system where enterprise can thrive for profit,
Well,
right? But what
well,
I'm
that's so, again, when we're talking about the free market economy, okay, that's not what we're against. We're not communists. We're not saying business should be private business should be owned by the government, or any of this nonsense. What I'm talking about is the abandonment of values and principles for money. Okay, so let's be clear about our definitions. It doesn't matter about Nordic, Indic, African
right, but that can
capitalism.
happen with
Okay,
any system,
but I'm
right? I mean,
talking about the wholesale disregard of your values for profit.
but do you agree that can happen with any system?
Yeah, but it's like in the foundational principles of capitalism that
No, it's not.
yes, it is. You it, capitalism feeds on human beings' capacity to generate money as fast as possible, with the least amount of resistance possible.
And why
Okay.
does that have to be associated with criminal activities or disregard of people? I mean,
Well,
that's
it,
something
it
that
automatically does, because
used to be that way.
it doesn't provide a value system, because
It does.
it
You are
doesn't.
you are paid versus on what you make and what you earn and how you do it, right? I mean, and now again, the idea is that
Does Adam Smith talk about moral obligations in Wealth of
no,
Nations?
he doesn't. But I tell you why. Because it's not capitalism is not a governing system. It's up to the government to regulate um the economy, right? And capitalism is only an economy. It only is a driving force for an economy. Capitalism doesn't say how you should rule itself or any of that. It's simply an economic system, right? Socialism and these kind of things, they have other added, parts to it,
All
right?
right, I don't
But
want to derail the podcast too much, but let's just stick
okay,
to
we
Jamal
can debate
Khashoggi for.
capitalism at different times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in core, I mean, in essence, to highlight your point, let's just refer to it as capitalism for argument's sake. In America, people are willing to do anything to make money, and they're willing to compromise on their morals. They're willing to throw people under the bus. They're willing to even sacrifice their own families, their own well-being in order to achieve financial success. And unfortunately, that in itself, inherently, that type of thinking where you are going to be cutthroat and you have a total disregard for morals and human life is very problematic. And this is why you're finding people right now who may not be so outraged about Jamal Khashoggi's death because they're thinking, hey, you know what? Yeah, it's a bad thing, but I don't want $10 a gallon oil prices. No, I
Yeah.
don't want to lose my interest in the Middle East. And for example, politicians might be worrying that if they don't back up Saudi Arabia might actually be inclined to work more with Russia or China, right, and give their money happily over there, right? But and at the sake of their own political power, they don't want to correct something that is wrong, and that type of thinking is inherently evil. There's nothing productive about that kind of thinking.
Some of the brothers were earlier asking on the chat whether his body has been recovered. To my knowledge, the body has not been recovered of Jamal Khashoggi. It's it's probably in the Saudi possession, or they've disposed of it, over the ocean or something. I think the team of commandos that came to the consulate was they came via charter plane, so they disposed of those bags probably from the airplane, or maybe took it back with them to the kingdom. So that's
You mean his body?
yeah, Khashoggi's body.
Well, they saw them leaving with bags. I mean, so I don't know what happened. Did they drop them like in a dumpster? Or I mean, all I know is I wouldn't be eating any doner kebab in Turkey right now.
More, we don't make those
No,
jokes.
I'm just saying, bro. You don't know how savage these people could be. You know what I mean? They could be. You don't know how they are. I mean, if a guy is willing to cut somebody alive while he's, and dismember him while he's alive, what other perverted, sick thing what he might think of? You never know.
That's
You know what I
true.
mean? I'm just saying,
Well, yeah, I mean,
just
absolutely. Like the disgusting nature of these torturers, these you know these security personnel. I don't like the word security personnel. Just makes them feel like so much more harmless than they actually are. These are like demonic people.
assassins.
These
They're
are
assassins. They are
inhuman.
ruthless
No, just
assassins.
the idea, the psychology of someone who tortures people. That's just something that's so beyond me. Like, what kind of mom
And
did
you
you
know what's
have?
funny? You know what's extremely funny to me? Saudi Arabia comes out and like, oh, Daesh are terrorists. They're beheading people. They kill people. They torture people.
Yeah,
You did exactly the same thing.
exactly.
But because you are a government and it is state-sponsored terrorism, it's
Yeah,
okay. Turn a blind eye to it. But I'm not justifying terrorism. But what I'm saying is, don't go and point your finger at Daesh and people like that when you yourself are doing the same thing, but you're covering it in a different way,
yeah.
right? For us, we view you guys as the same, right? Whether that guy who got dismembered, let me ask you a question. If somebody was killed and dismembered, would it matter that Daesh did it or a commando did it or secret service did it? No. In any case, it's wrong, right? The man still suffered. The man was killed extrajudicially, and it was problematic, right? So
Yeah.
that is the issue, you know. I don't know. I mean, I just don't. Unfortunately, as much as we'd like to make it a big deal, Sim, I just feel like that. You know what? It's gonna die down
You
in a
you know
couple of weeks, a month.
one of my friends on Facebook, they said this whole story is very reminiscent of.
I have friends.
Yeah, I do. So I don't know how they. But anyway, one of my friends, they were commenting. I don't want to mention their name for privacy reasons, but they they
Oh,
made a
secret
they made
friend,
a
huh?
they made a connection between how similar this story was with Sister Afia Siddiqui. Do you know Sister Afia Siddiqui more? I think you're pretty familiar with that story as well. She did American. This was a situation now that the Americans were making up a whole bunch of garbage about how Sister Afia, while being interrogated, grabbed a gun, rolled her
The
around the ground.
95-year-old, yeah, 95-pound woman who's
Yeah,
never been around guns in her life somehow reaches around, overpowers three different guards, and takes his rifle and somehow learns how to be a marksman in a matter of a few minutes, right? I mean, that kind of ridiculous narrative that we hear about, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
yeah, I agree. I mean, you can draw a lot of parallels and just see, it's because one side is doing it, so it's okay. And you know what? The other thing is too. Let's look at this. For all you Bashar al-Assad supporters, you have no right to be mad at Saudi Arabia for doing it. If anyone supports Bashar al-Assad, there is no reason why you should be mad at Saudi Arabia because Bashar al-Assad had his goons going around doing the exact same thing
Oh yeah.
for years upon years during the Civil War. So what means is it depends on who's doing it that makes it right and wrong,
Mm.
and that is the hypocrisy of our society today.
But more another hypocrisy related item was uh, a lot of our activist scholars and imams who are failing to say a single word about this story. That's what's really bothering me. It's like they're so worried about their Hajj business, their Umrah business getting in trouble, well, and not getting the permits that is required to get into Saudi Arabia, that they're willing to just
Wait,
be
do
silent
we
about it.
still trust imams these days, or
Yeah,
I mean, is that
apparently
still a thing?
they got pretty large numbers of followers on Facebook. So
I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but me, I just don't put them on pedestals anymore. I could care less what they say. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I
I
mean,
mean, when it
I
comes to
think
issues, no,
no,
I
no,
mean, look, when
like
it comes to
how could
issues
you be
like this,
silent about this when this is the one opportunity, an issue about fellow scholars of yours from Saudi Arabia are being imprisoned, and not just that, you have finally something that has been brewing within the Muslim community, specifically the Arab community, for years, for decades, and it's finally been brought to the media spotlight, and these guys like weasels are so quiet about it. Like, how dare you? Like, what kind of respect do you have? How do you look at yourself? You have tens of thousands of followers all over the world, and you can't, because you're so worried
and they're
about
not
your
even
your
in Saudi Arabia.
you're not
They're
in Saudi
outside
Arabia.
in a
You're American
comfortable place.
citizens. You're British nationals. You're Australian citizens. You should be all over this. You should be on top
Hey,
of your social media soapboxes. And
let's
God,
call up Sheikh
God,
Ahmed right now and
no,
make sure he
God bless.
condemns it. Otherwise, we're gonna ban him.
More, God bless Dr. Shadi Al Masri, man. That guy, he went and he posted about this. He posted about
Good.
it. Yeah, I think yesterday but he. This is why you identify the sincerity of certain people, because so what if Saudi Arabia bans you from coming to Hajj? You think when on the day of judgment, when you're in front of Allah, that your excuse that Saudi Arabia would not allow you to come to Hajj, that prevents you from fulfilling your faraid? You think Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is irrational in that respect? A'udhu billah. Like,
Yeah.
where's your
Hey, let me
common
let me ask
sense?
you a question though. Let me ask you a question. This to kind of sidestep away from this a little bit. Another question regarding this. Okay. I know his death is wrong. I know, I mean, the killing of that man is wrong. But sometimes I question the motive of people who are the loudest, beating the drums the loudest about this issue. Do they really care about Jamal Khashoggi or the death of an innocent man? Or are they using this for their own political agenda to just scream and be like, oh, look at Saudi, how evil they are, right? I
You
mean,
know,
like,
you
for
have to look
example,
at the
there are,
track record, and you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think there are people who do that, and many of them are from
like,
people
the
who
reason why I'm saying, no, wait,
Russian fans of Russia, friends of Bashar al-Assad. They'll
right,
be the
like
first people who.
Iranians. Like, I came across an Iranian who was screaming at the top of his lung, "Oh, oh, you guys should condemn them. Oh, innocent man, a counselor, it's a safe zone, it's a green zone. What happened? Oh, and so I'm thinking like, wait a minute, dude. just like 5 years ago, you guys killed two Iranian journalists in Iran and got away with plain murder, right? I mean, actually, their own Iranian what do they call that? Medical what do they call those people who do the autopsy? Um, uh,
Oh,
Coroner,
a
right?
coroner, right?
Yeah, yeah. Said that the woman was raped, beaten, and then killed, and then even while she was dead, they also molested her. So what I'm saying is that these kinds of people who allow that to happen in their country and they don't say they don't have the same outcry, it makes me question their motive. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who out, who's who is criticizing this is in that camp. Of course, there are some honest people who are genuinely caring about innocent people, but I also do question how many people, who are the loudest about this are actually, actually sincere about Jamal or just about criticizing a Sunni government, or
Yeah,
a government that is not with Russia or Syria or Lebanon or Iran or what I mean? Like
yeah,
we have to be careful not to play into the hype too much and just because a bunch of people are jumping on the bandwagon. We criticize it no matter who does it, whether
right.
it's our government, your government, because the standard is that killing anybody the way that he was killed is wrong. There's no doubt about it, no matter who does it.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything
Transition
else
there.
on the agenda? I didn't mean to make the
Wait,
whole
let me read
episode
the
about
comments.
Khashoggi,
Yeah,
but
let me read.
let's see here.
Anything more about Khashoggi, guys? He cut off his fingers, proceeded to dismember Khashoggi while he was alive. Yes, yes, we talked about that. The Arab world has long known its leaders are just puppets. Millions of Yemenis are dying. Hardly anyone spoke. One dead journalist suddenly captures the world attention. Absolutely, because Yemen is not a political interest. That's why, my friend. Yemen is not a country that produces massive amounts of oil. It doesn't have a lot of export. The only strategic benefit of Yemen is Bab el Mindeb and the Red Sea, right? And it's across Somalia and Aden. And so they're fighting over that land because it's an area of strategic importance between Iran and Saudi Arabia, right? Whoever controls that region controls the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea, right? Both of it in both ways. So people really don't care about the Yemenis. You'll see Iranians, screaming, "Oh, the Yemeni people are dying! They're dying! Everyone knows Saudi's so evil!" Right? But in reality, they don't give a crap about Yemeni people. They care about Bab el Mindeb and the Red Sea. And so it is true. The Arabs have been the biggest hypocrites of to themselves. Arabs have killed more Arabs than any Jew, than any foreign government, anyone. I mean, I'm saying in these last 10 years or 15 years, more Muslims have died at the hands of other Muslims than at the hands of non-Muslims. And so the quicker we come to terms with that reality is when we can actually begin to have an honest conversation about why that is and why we have a double standard when it's our people versus other people.
All right. Uh, Closing thoughts, comments, anything up? Well, let's just tell the listeners about what we're planning on Thursday.
Yeah,
We
yeah, yeah,
have
yeah. Do you want to do it or do you want
yeah.
me to
Go
do it?
ahead, you do it.
Well, we've been kind of hyping up something for a long time and we didn't really get a chance to talk about it. But what we're doing is every Thursday, it's going to be called Taboo Thursdays. And it's going to be hosted by, along with us, yours truly, and Sim and the rest of the Mad Luke's team, but with a very special co-host that we've decided, and he has graciously accepted to be part of the show, and that is none other than Baba Ali. Baba Ali is probably well known to many of you. He's a comedian as well, but he started off, just doing YouTube videos, and he got to be very famous, and then he was very comical. For those of you that listen to our podcast with him, you can get an idea of how he actually got started in comedy, even though it wasn't his intention. But then he later on he transitioned to like board games. He started making very from Mecca to Medina, and then he had a children's program for a little while, and then he went to halfourdeen.com because that is one of his passions, and that is to help for brothers and sisters get married because marriage was such a challenging process for him. So he decided that he really wanted to help people because he found a real honest way to find a good partner, and he's one of our sponsors. But we thought that it would be a great person to have on the show to talk about some of these taboo issues that people who are married or looking to get married, or maybe in some type of relationship that isn't exactly what would be Islamic, but they're looking for advice on maybe how to get
On
out of it or
anything.
how to make it,
Yeah,
yeah, anything related to
even if
gender
it's not.
issues and
Yeah,
yeah,
if you're feeling like a girl, talk to us about it. Like if you're male and you're feeling like there might be a different gender inside you, maybe it's time to call up the Mad Mamluks and we'll come in.
sure, we can talk about gender dysphoria. Absolutely. I mean, no
Right.
problem. I mean, we can talk about these things. I mean, there are people who feel like other things. There's cheese dysphoria. I mean, I don't know if it's really real. I mean, medically, but people feel like it. I don't know, whatever it may be. But it's going to be taboo
Did you
Thursday.
just
So
say
anything,
did you say cheese just for you?
no species
Oh,
dysphoria.
species just.
Yeah, like fluffies. Fluffers. They feel no. I'm serious. They feel like they are wolves or dogs, and they
No, no,
dress
that's
up and
not
they feel
fluffer.
like
That's not the fluffies. That's the I forgot the term, but I know what you
whatever
mean.
it is. I can't keep up the all term,
Yeah,
but anyways, there are people who feel like they have animal spirits, okay,
yeah.
and they actually feel like they are belong to a wolf pack or they belong to some type of dog pack or whatever. I don't know what it is, but yeah, the furries, yeah, Hydra the cartoonist, he says furries, yes, furries. I'm sorry, fluffers. I call them fluffers. This is a sign you're getting old, right, Sim? We can't keep up to date with all these terms anymore, dude. I,
No.
I feel bad for the next generation, though. Honestly, there's so many like gender types and pronouns and
Oh
not
no.
not to use pronouns, and I mean so many things to worry about these days. I mean when we were younger, dude, it was so easy. Go to school, call him a boy and call her a girl, and is it, boys bathroom,
Well, hey,
girls
did
bathroom.
you hear about Trump possibly removing transgender out of like any legal terms? Like, I think he's working on removing transgenderism as a status, as a legal status altogether. I don't
Hmm.
know. This was just
I
released
didn't read
today.
about that. So tell me about that. What's he trying to do?
No, I'm just speaking from the headline news I read.
Oh, okay. No, I
Like,
had no idea. But
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'd like to have a podcast about gender dysphoria and transsexualism because
Well,
I've actually done a lot of homework about it. Actually,
gu-
I've really.
guess who's coming on? I can't reveal the person's name, but he's a specialist, not from our Muslim community. He's a specialist in from the Christian community who provides therapy to a lot of homosexuals who want to change to become heterosexual.
Hey, look at this, Sim.
And
A
he's had a
comment.
lot. Yeah, go
Look at
ahead.
this here. It says you guys have no idea. We have compulsory social studies on how gender and physical sex are two separate things.
Wow,
I, I
that's
mean, well, you know what? I don't want to get into a whole rant about that because I really want to save that for an episode because I feel like it's an
yeah.
important topic.
It'll
Where
take over another hour,
yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah.
It can't be just done in a couple minutes. I mean, I've really looked deeply. Actually, you'll be so just the background, Sim, why I'm actually interested in this. Because remember when we were exploring Discord to be used for this live thing? So I
Right.
actually had an account. So I began poking around Discord. And so I actually engaged in a series of debates with a transgender person.
Wait,
And
how did you get in
before
this room? wait, you gotta give us
it's
some
not a room. It's an
backstory.
open forum. It's an open forum. You can click on it. Like
Ah,
they have private and open forum. So I clicked on it. Right, it was a debate room. So I'm like, okay, let me go and let's see what they're debating about. So I said, prove to me that gender dysphoria actually exists. So I have no idea about this, right? And these kind of people on Discord, they're actually not like a typical double digit people. You know what I mean? Like they actually have everything ready. Like they're very extremely debate ready and they are on top of the game about the issues that they are passionate about. So I said, you know what? Before I make any dumb comments, let me listen to this guy out or this girl, whatever you want to call him. And so I said, prove to me that gender dysphoria exists. And he laid down like all this stuff. I actually went into research, like all these papers, DSM-5, six, or DSM-5 journals, and the whole shebang.
yeah.
So then I began to listen to all the arguments, and then I began after the next couple of weeks, I just began to debate him in some ways. But there's a lot of information that they put out there that can be very, very convincing, and it's I feel it's worth having a conversation about on a podcast, but at a later point when we have time. But I actually really got a chance to deep dive into gender identity issues, or GID, or gender dysphoria, or what they call
Uh,
now gender incongruence. But anyways,
Gender
yeah,
incongruence. I like that.
yeah.
Cool. Well, if that's it, then we're gonna wrap this baby up. any
Wait, look
following?
at this. Are guys who don't get married until they're almost like 40 gay or defected?
Oh
No, I
man,
wouldn't say that. I
Sister
wouldn't say
Noor,
that.
that's kind of mean. There's a lot of
No, but I'll
people.
tell you why. No, I'll tell you why. Because look, then if we're gonna put an age on men who are 40, any woman that's after 30 and hasn't gotten married
Yeah,
yet, or then
they're the
she's
ones.
defected too.
Right,
Yeah, I mean,
right.
yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
no,
women
but
have a biological clock. It's not. This is
yeah,
just science.
no,
It's not
and
meant
then not
to.
only that, and also look at it this way as well too. Men, unfortunately, the reality is that a lot of men are messing around when they're younger. And so that main motivation to get married, which is sex, isn't really motivating them anymore because they're already getting it. They're getting the milk without the cow, right? So why would they rush into something
Why
and
would they
say,
take the
"Oh,
cow?
yeah, I mean, why would you pay for the cow? Why? No, I'm getting it already."
We're not calling
So, I mean,
women cows, but
no, it's an
kind of we are.
analogy. I think
Yeah,
if you don't know that's an analogy by
yeah.
now, you haven't been born in America and you should just not listen to the
They're
podcast.
coming for you, Mort.
No,
They're coming.
no. But anyways, but I don't believe that they're virgin guys if they're 40. I mean, maybe. I don't know. They could be. I mean, Allahu Alam. But I mean, then I'm gonna be very honest here. They're probably masturbating every night. I mean, it's just so. I mean, it's just something going on here, right? I mean, or they're impotent, or there's
No,
something
I
going
mean,
on.
yeah, there's some people who just don't have the drive. And there's methods and ways of mitigating that drive that propels most men to get married very young. But as we know from the Sunnah, there's things like fasting and working out, and I don't know, working out's not from the Sunnah, but generally you can do other activities to keep your mind
Well,
off
don't
it. You
forget
can stay busy with other
well, don't forget there were some
endeavors in
scholars
life.
of Islam that didn't get married, like Imam Nawawi, rahimahullah, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah didn't get. I mean, they didn't get
Yeah.
married, right? I mean, they were
There's,
busy in some other
you
things.
can't
So if they
we
are,
can't use the exception as a rule. In general,
no, I'm saying
men, yeah,
no, but
there
yeah,
are
but what I'm
people
saying
who
is,
are going to be immersing themselves in academia and other activities.
yeah,
Uh,
but Sim, I think a 40-year-old virgin is an exception too. Like most people, 40-year-olds are not going to be virgins, right? I think that's pretty an exception. I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
think it
I'm
is.
sure. I think
Right? So, I mean, it's not normal, dude. I'm sorry to say. I hate to break the hearts of all the mummies and daddies who think that their 35-year-old son is a virgin and he's not messing around. But it's, you know, high probability he's already lost his virginity. And that's probably why he's not getting married. Right? I'm just sorry to say it to
again,
you.
he's speaking in
You know,
general terms, not
yeah,
every
general.
single day. I'm sure there's some people who
Yeah,
are
don't.
watching right
I
now.
mean,
I'm a 40-year-old virgin. I'm okay. I didn't. I'm staying true to the deen. Mashallah. You're an amazing brother. And I
yeah.
think Allah has
May
reserved.
Allah give you the power of saying that Yusuf if that's you, okay? But I
Yeah,
mean, the thing is, yeah, I
a
mean, the
lot of
thing is,
guys, a lot of normal folks who aren't very inclined towards the religion like you are. You probably it's not. We're not talking about you. If you're watching this podcast, you're probably inclined towards the religion. You don't. You could go on some other platform and watch the news
I
as
could just
well from
imagine
there.
Mahin right now screaming BS like
Mm.
no, but anyways,
So
no, but I mean, and on the flip side, I think if women who are trying to avoid getting married and avoiding their maternal instinct and they're trying to just focus on their career and not get married, I think there's also something very troubling with them as well too.
no, no. Look, there's also I know brothers who are just not financially ready. They weren't financially ready for most of their early 20s or
It's
mid
true.
30s,
I mean,
and
that's why I
they
got
sorted out their life much later. And
no, that's why I decided to do it later because
yeah,
I felt like I had money for me, but when you want a stable income, because me, I can be okay with making $5,000 or $6,000 one month or 10 grand one month and not making money for the next 2 months.
yeah,
But when you have a family, you can't do that, right? You've got to
yeah.
have something more stable. So, Allah Alam,
All right.
people are, I don't know. But anyways,
Closing thoughts. Anyone have last questions? Did someone say something? Uh,
you need to do another podcast with Sheikh Hamza Maqbool, inshallah,
oh,
maybe later
inshallah.
on.
Yeah, we invited him just recently, brother Abdullah. He was traveling to South Africa actually, so he could not
Dr.
come
Bilal
on.
Phillips as well. Okay, well, maybe we'll
Dr.
turn.
Dr.
Well,
Bilal.
how
That,
about
no,
you guys?
yeah, you guys got to
Yeah,
talk to these people. Tell them to
yeah,
come
why
on.
don't you guys look? How about this? If you guys actually want us to do a show with people, why don't you tweet them and then pull us in also with a tweet and get a conversation going because we can't do this alone. If you guys want to see good content, help us. This is for you guys too. I mean, me and Tim talk to each other
This
all
is
the
a
time.
family, all right. We
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know with many of you guys, a lot of these names are familiar, and we got a thing going. We got some loyal followers that You're not followers in my eyes. You're like part of our family. Anytime you guys visit Chicago, not a single time has this man right here said no. I can't see you.
Yeah,
So
and if you're in
I have
Buffalo,
a
New
pretty
York,
good
or in
record.
Canada, Toronto, come by and say hi. I'm not in Chicago
Yeah,
anymore. Actually, right now, speaking of that, I'm actually in Philadelphia right now. This is why I'm in a different setting. For those of you who actually watch, somebody said nice curtains. It's because I'm not at home. I'm actually at a hotel room. Um,
yeah.
in Philadelphia right
That's
now.
actually better
Yes.
than that white wall that you're usually behind. I
My
like this.
white wall is great. It kind of brings out my black eyes and my dark beard. I love it.
Mm,
I think you're just
no,
hating on my white wall
no,
because it's not a big
this
orange.
video
I
quality
mean,
is
a
fantastic.
yellow and black
Actually,
logo like the Mr. Cool guy on the cam right
hey,
now.
I'm just telling you,
Sorry.
we got a theme
No,
going. We got a yellow, black, and white theme going, and you're kind of straying off
okay. How about
the
guys?
reservation.
Guys in the text, should I change my white background or should I
Not
change
not
or should
this
I
one, not the hotel one that he's in right now. From the
no
previous
the other
videos.
ones?
Yeah, let everyone know. All
Anyways,
right,
you guys
guys,
can leave in
let's
your
wrap this
comments
up.
what you
These
guys
guys
think.
want to
Yeah,
go to sleep, man. It's a work day tomorrow.
yeah. Me too.
All
I gotta
right.
be up
Make
early
sure you
tomorrow.
look at refer halfardine.com to your bachelor friends and family members who are looking to get married. Have them set up a marriage profile. It takes very quick amount of time. There's a very high success ratio with halfardine.com. Um, regarding
Then wait,
yeah.
wait. We never gave a timings or
Oh,
anything for because some person named Noor totally distracted us. Thanks a lot, Noor.
Nor.
Anyways, so it's Taboo Thursdays. It's gonna be at 9 p.m. Central Time. Oh no,
No, 8
sorry,
p.m. 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Central
You
Time.
had one job, Mort.
Yeah, I know 8 p.m. Central Time on Thursdays. It's gonna be called Taboo Thursdays with Baba Ali. Try to spread the word. It's going to be anything taboo,
Yeah.
whatever we just talked about, anything you want to bring, we don't want to do it again, but all the good stuff. Baba Ali is going to be, Sim's going to share his wisdom. Baba Ali will share his experiences, his comedy, and I'll be the goofy guy in the background, just kind of, laughing and giggling. But you guys can tune in and be part of the show. Bring your questions, your comments, tweet at us beforehand, email us, whatever you need to do. Get us your comments, your wild stories, your awkward moments, whatever it may be that you want to talk about. If you want to do it anonymously,
Yeah.
do it. Create a fake Twitter, tweet us anonymously. If you want to email us, email us. We won't put your name out there. Let us know you want to be anonymous, and we'll do it. But definitely, this can be a good thing for people who want to, get some things off their chest and they don't know who to talk to about. And we can probably do it in a fun, non like, in your finger in your face type of method.
Yeah.
We'll give you our practical advice of how we grew up because I was definitely, not exactly the best kid growing up, and so I kind of have been in and around stuff, and I can probably just tell you what I feel, and maybe it might be some benefit to you, and Sim might be even Bob Ali can also maybe share his experiences based on people that he's worked with because of Half RD and just being a celebrity that he is. Maybe it could
Well,
help you. So tweet it out. Let everybody.
The Mad Mamluks are known for being real with you guys, and I think many people are tired of the regular format of polished, super clean Muslim. Like me and Mort, we're regular guys, and alhamdulillah, we had the fortunate experiences that we've had in our lives to sit down with some of the great scholars of our day back then, of the 90s and 2000s. But we also have a scholar as well on our podcast, and hopefully he'll join us for some of those Taboo Thursday subjects. And we hope to give you guys some insight on that. And
So spread the word. Make sure you tweet it, spread it around. Help us make this something like that could be popular. You know what I mean? Spread
all
out
right,
the word,
all
tweet
right,
it, retweet it, whatever it is.
all right, cool. And okay, so we got half our Dean out of the way, and then mywasiya.com. Get your Islamic will made in as little as 15 minutes. Go to mywasiya.com. Thirdly, Wahid Invest. Get your finances invested in a halal manner. Go to wahidinvest.com. Approved by most by several major scholars like Yasser Qadi and them. Get your finances sorted out and make sure your money is being invested towards halal companies. With that being said, my name for my co-host Mort out of Buffalo, New York. My name is Sim. We'll see you guys Thursday. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, comrades.